So this is our 2002 RAV4. I've been doing some work on to get it back on the road for a customer. And I've been running through all the systems, engine, transmission, getting everything working again. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time highlighting the HVAC system, the air conditioning specifically. I'm not going to do a full rundown on the AC because I've found that those videos perform horribly. Apparently there's very little interest in seeing a full AC rebuild, so I'm not doing that on this car. But I am going to show real quick just some of the more difficult things to get to and what you have to take apart. And in this case, it's going to be the thermal expansion valve on the AC system and how to get to it and where it's located and what you have to do to replace it. So let's run through that real quick. Maybe this will help somebody out, and let's get into it. So to pull the glove compartment, just these two screws and then it'll come out. You just need to pull this off the box. So that can be pulled away, and there's another one down here. There's another plug down here. Okay, and this harness is free, and I'm just going to pull it over here for now, out of the way. Okay, so there's a screw here that holds the box in. Oh, don't forget to unplug this one up here. That's for your valve up here. And there's one there, and there's one back here. And then we can take this out. I may just, since I'm this close, I may just pull the fan to make this easier to get out of here. It's not that difficult. So let's do that, and we'll slide this box out. Okay, I pulled the fan out so we can see what we're doing on camera a little bit better here. So I'm gonna pull this one out, this one out, this one out here. Okay, now there's a screw back there to pull this block to get to it. So I'm going to pull that block out. Okay, now that that's pulled out and down, you can see it back there. I'm going to pull that one out. So kind of pull this sideways a little bit, kind of wiggle it. But you got to get this pulled out of that white vent tube there. Anyway, I'm going to wiggle this down out of here. So if you want, when you're getting to the thermal expansion valve back there, you don't have to fight this box, this fan box, all the way out. You just leave it here. What we're trying to get to is back right in here. So we need to take off this thermal covering so we can actually get to what's underneath. So now that we've removed that thermal covering, you can see the thermal expansion valve and where the lines come in. Here's the thermal expansion valve, and up here is the bulb on the valve, and you can see how it's jammed right up against this heater line. And that's why one of the reasons they've covered it so much with thermal tape, because it's, I mean, it's close, it's almost touching. I don't know why they do this stuff, engineers. Anyway, so now we can take this off. We can take these two screws out, pull that plug away, and pull the thermal expansion valve off. First I need to remove the refrigerant charge, so I'll do that, and then we can pull the thermal expansion valve out. So you got to be real careful taking these screws out. If you look at this one, you can see, if my camera will focus, you can see a little bit of the aluminum came out with the screw, because these are steel and the evaporator core and everything is aluminum. You got to be real careful if you're not planning on replacing the evaporator core, which I'm not. Fortunately, we still have, I guess, this much thread left in there, but there's some aluminum in there, so I'm gonna run it out with a die, run it off the screw with a die, and clean it up before we put it back in. You got temperature differences and metal differences, and it's just not a good combination. So once you have the screws out and everything, you can pull off the thermal expansion valve. You'll have a little bit of slack without disconnecting this in the engine compartment. You can move it around a little because there's slack in the lines and this isn't a tight joint up here. But if you're going to do anything else other than this, you can only get about that much. So like if you're going to pull the core out and stuff, you really need to remove this by removing the clips on the other side of the firewall and pulling this out. So you can disconnect your probe wire because it goes through this cover, and there's a little connector right down here that it plugs into. Disconnect that. You can disconnect it from all of its confinements, and then you can kind of, I don't think I missed any screws, and you can kind of work this out, kind of sort of like that, gently with the probe, and that is what you get. Okay, so now our core is exposed. So to disconnect those clips I was talking about, you go down in here and there's one on each of the lines. They look like this, and I'm sure I've said this before, but they clamp together to clamp the line on. But to disconnect them, you can just push a probe down through this line and push it hard enough and it'll kind of spring apart. The Toyota, there's a special Toyota tool, and it has like a 2-pin prong and everything, but you don't need to have 2 pins. You can just press really hard on one because it's still one metal clip. I mean, unless it's been modified, it's still one metal clip and you're pressing the whole thing down. That's all you need to do, because down in there's a tab that it locks onto. So that is all your springing apart. So now we can go back into the cabin and we can pull that through the firewall. Just go in there and wiggle it a little bit. Gotta be careful because these are metal lines. Okay, I got it. I got it. So now we can pull the evaporator core out. Don't lose your boot. And don't forget to put it back in again. It goes through here. What I'm going to do is put the boot back here. That way I can't forget to put it on. So I'm just going to put it on there, and then I'll replace the O-rings before I put it back together. But let's go pull the evaporator core. See what we have. Hopefully it's an evaporator core. Okay. So that's just a quick video kind of to show you how to do that if you're looking for it. If this helps somebody out, great. That's the goal of this video. Feel free to like, subscribe, share this if you know anybody who has a problem with the RAV4 and needs to replace the thermal expansion valve. So hopefully this video will help someone out down the road or whatever. You know, it's always great to be able to find diagnostic and repair issues quickly online if you can. And well, that's part of my goal of throwing some of these videos together, because it's, you know, sometimes it's hard to find some information. So as always, thanks for watching.